Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli, back with another review video, and of course, continuing on reviewing the Marvel films. So, the next Marvel film in the MCU that I've finally come up to, which, this being the second to last Marvel film in the MCU in Phase 4. Yes, that's right, guys. Finally, at long last, I am reviewing the fourth installment of the Thor films. Yes, and you know, I'm pretty sure for a lot of us, we were all expecting that this would probably be really good, because after the last Thor film, which did really good, what Taika Waititi brought to Thor Ragnarok was amazing. And, well, because since he was going to write and direct the next Thor film, you know, I'm pretty sure we were all hoping that maybe this would be pretty good too. And when it did finally come out, well, unfortunately, it got very mixed, so, yeah. But, for me, I'm one of those that actually likes this. And, you know, good thing, because I gave it a rewatch, and before, well, now I'm doing my review. So that's right, guys. I am finally reviewing the fourth installment of the Thor films, which being Thor: Love and Thunder. Yes, Thor: Love and Thunder. Again, the fourth installment of the Thor films, and again, as I say, unfortunately, Love and Thunder being a mixed bag, it's unfortunate, you know, because, you know, sadly, there are those that, you know, just how they feel about it, just but again, for me, I'm one of those, and I'm sure some of you are like me too, that come to actually like and enjoy Thor: Love and Thunder. I mean, besides, like, you know, what Love and Thunder had in store, what it had to offer, pretty good. I mean, I guess as though that, like, the comedy might have been over the top. I mean, somehow it managed to work in Ragnarok, but in this, well, I guess I can't deny it that it failed. But for me, again, I mean, I had no problem with the comedy in this, and besides, like, you know, people say that Thor needs to be serious. Yes, but it doesn't hurt for Thor to have some humorous stuff. It's been there before in the MCU ever since, you know, the first Thor film. And besides, him being serious is in this film. It is, and besides, the MCU never fails, not only at bringing us humorous and funny moments, but also serious and emotional moments. Oh yeah, I mean, it can definitely succeed at bringing us so good emotion. And what's in Thor: Love and Thunder? Oh yeah, I think it's pretty good. So I remember, of course, and for all of us, when the announcement happened that for Phase 4, we would get another Thor film, and it's pretty cool because this is the first time in the history of the MCU that Thor is the first Marvel/MCU character, you know, where he has 4 movies, because some of the others, like Captain America, Iron Man, and the Guardians of the Galaxy, they only had a total of 3 films. I mean, I guess you could say the 4th Captain America film counts, but really, because with the first 3, Captain America being Steve Rogers, okay? So, I think you get my point. But anyways, so yeah, I mean, aside from Captain America 4, well, also because, you know, Spider-Man 4, because, yeah, that counts as well, so, yeah. So, nice to see, because, you know, from Thor, Captain America, but, you know, the new Captain America, that is, which, of course, being Sam, and Spider-Man getting, you know, a list of 4 films, and them being the first 3 characters in the MCU, you know, yeah. And it was exciting to hear that Natalie Portman was coming back, and this time she would be Lady Thor, or as Jane prefers being called, the Mighty Thor. And also, the Guardians of the Galaxy were also announced to make an appearance in this. And well, because when the villain of this movie was announced too, which I'll get to right after I read the description / the story. But yeah, and with that, and enough said, as always, read the description / the story. Thor embarks on a journey unlike anything he's ever faced. A quest for inner peace. However, his retirement gets interrupted by Gorr, the God Butcher, a galactic killer who seeks the extinction of the gods. To combat the threat, Thor enlists the help of King Valkyrie, Korg, and ex-girlfriend Jane Foster, who, to his surprise, inexplicably, I kind of have trouble saying that one word, wields his magical hammer. Together, they set out on a harrowing cosmic adventure to uncover the mystery of the God Butcher's vengeance. Okay, so now getting into the film itself. Well, right away, because we already, the first character we see, and, well, we technically get our introduction of who would become, the God Butcher, which, of course, being Gorr, being played by good old Christian Bale. Yeah. Because this is the first time, since the Dark Knight films, that Christian Bale has done another comic book movie, and this time being something Marvel. I think I read where he wasn't sure, like, if he would ever, like, do another comic book movie or something, but, you know, surprisingly, because I think he was intrigued by this, and, well, the fact that he would be playing a villain, so yeah. And I think Christian Bale, what he brought to the character of Gorr in this, pretty interesting. Also, another fun fact, Gorr is one of, Chris Hemsworth's favorite comic book characters, villains, I want to say. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And by the way, because, you know, I didn't know at the time who Gorr was, but, you know, when I learned and heard that Gorr was to be the main villain, it didn't take me too long to do some research, and that's what I do. If I did or did not establish this before, I pretty much, most of the time, do my research on comic book characters who would make their live-action debut. Any new comic book character, whether if it's DC or Marvel, and, you know, they would be making their live-action debut and such, and I wouldn't know them that much, and so on. I, of course, would do my research on them, and thus, yeah, when I did my research on Gorr, well, because, you know, him being the God Butcher, and the look and design of Gorr in the comics, I'd say, yeah, a little bit, probably very different than how he looks in, live action. I mean, when I looked at, when I looked at the differences between Gorr in the comics and in this movie, yeah, because how he looks in the comics, to me, he looks a little bit similar to Ebony, you know, one of Thanos' children. I mean, don't you think? And maybe because with the look that they went for, that they gave Gorr in Love and Thunder, well, I'd like to think, and if I'm surprisingly right, that they didn't want to have him look similar to Ebony. I'm just saying, because if you look at Ebony and how Gorr looks in the comics, yeah. Although, I mean, they didn't incorporate this on Gorr, because he had, like, tentacles or something to his head. They didn't include that. But overall, I think what they brought to the design and look of Gorr, and obviously he has to be white, which, of course, that's what they did. I think they did the best they could. I don't think it's that bad. And besides, with Christian Bale as Gorr, and with that makeup and such, oh, I mean, he can pull off some good scary looks. So yeah, okay. So we see Gorr. He's just basically suffering, and he's struggling because, you know, he is carrying his daughter, which being okay, yeah, so there she is. Gorr's daughter. That's how she's credited, but she does have a name. And I don't think her name is revealed until the end of the movie. So yeah, Gorr's daughter, being played by obviously one of Chris Hemsworth's children, his daughter, India Rose Hemsworth. Yeah. So she plays Gore's daughter. Unfortunately, because, well, at one point, because she sadly dies, and, well, because, you know, you could imagine, like, how distraught Gore is, and even when he buried her in the sand and, like, you know, just curled up next to where he buried her. Ugh. But then at one point, he comes face-to-face with a god named Rampu. You know, for some reason, because that's the word Rampu, the name/word, kind of reminds me of, like, if you even know exactly what it is that I'm about to say, for all of you iCarly fans, because an episode of iCarly, because at the start of it, Spencer, my name's mixed. Spencer got a lamp, and, you know, he's trying to get it to turn on, because it can activate audibly, because, like, when you would speak to it, you know, by going lamp, but then, of course, it being in Japanese, and, you know, by shouting Rampu. So I thought I'd mention that. So if any of you know about that, and any of you iCarly fans, good. So anyways, well, I mean, there's an M in Rampu, but I'm just saying, but Rapu, just, yeah. Did I say Rampu by calling the character? Anyways, so, okay, continuing. So Gore comes face-to-face with a god that he worships. He's actually one of the disciples to this god named Rapu, being played by Johnny Braw, if I'm saying the last name right. And we see a bunch of other, like, you know, god, like, there's a flower god, and, yeah, a couple of others, like, you know, all around this garden and forest where Rapu, you know, where he resides. And, well, because, you know, we see that Rapu is being a jerk to Gore, and, you know, because, like, Gore is expecting, like, a gift or something. And it just kind of, it gets out of hand, and Rapu just giving Gore a hard time and such, again, because we see that the god that Gore worshipped is a huge jerk. And, well, at one point, because Gore got his hands on a sword that Rapu, you know, held and such, in his possession, which being the sword called the Necro Sword. Yeah, the Necro Sword. Yeah, and the Necro Sword, it's a very powerful sword capable of killing gods. It enhanced the owner's attributes to superhuman, you know, pardon me, because I struggle sometimes with pronouncing words, superhuman level, and allowed the owner to teleport. Yeah, so Gore, he got his hands on the Necro Sword, and killing, by decapitating, slicing off the Rapu, the god's head off. And, well, because now he's put under a spell, he's under possession by the sword, Gore, that is, and, well, that's when Gore becomes the God Butcher. So, yeah. And then, of course, then at one point after that, because, well, it's really cool, because with the MCU logo, and it's rock and roll and such, a guitar, and we hear a voice, and it's Korg, you know, let me tell you the story about Thor. And there's a couple times where, I mean, just a few times, I say, where he does a bit of narration, giving a little backstory, and to catch up on, you know, the first three Thor films, and what was going on with Thor, and how he lost so many, you know, from his best friends, to his brother, his mother and father, and even Jane, because, well, as we all know, and as it was established in Ragnarok, they broke up at one point, and this is where we get to see what happened between Thor and Jane. I mean, of course, they technically would get back together later on in this movie, but yeah. Well, and because, you know, Thor, he went into a deep depression, because, as we all know, in Avengers Infinity War and in Endgame, and how, you know, after the events of Endgame, he started to hang out and team up with the Guardians of the Galaxy. And, yeah, Thor, of course, once again being played by good old Chris Hemsworth, and the Guardians of the Galaxy, because it was exciting to hear that the Guardians of the Galaxy were going to appear in this, and it seemed obvious, and especially since at the end of Endgame, there was a bit of a tease that, well, because it seems like, you know, we may get something with Thor and the Guardians of the Galaxy, and technically we did in this. And there were rumors speculating that possibly Thor would be in the third Guardians film, but as of now, and yeah, unfortunately, that didn't happen. And that's okay, because, obviously, for the third and final Guardians of the Galaxy film, it just had to be them. You didn't have to bring in any other MCU character like Thor, for example, so, But yeah, with the Guardians appearing in this, that was acceptable, and it worked. Unfortunately, because they're not in this film that much, because, best described by Korg, because he's, narrating a bit of this, because, Thor and the Guardians of the Galaxy just going out and, looking for trouble and stopping the bad guys and so on. And, of course, the Guardians of the Galaxy, we, of course, have Peter Quill / Star-Lord, once again being played by Chris Pratt, Drax, Dave Bautista. I still have trouble pronouncing his last name. I'm sorry. You know who it is. Nebula, Karen Gillan, Mantis, Poem Clementif, I think I did closely got her last name right, and Sean Gunn, once again, playing Kraglin, and also, he not only plays Kraglin, but he is also Rocket on set, yeah. And of course, Groot, being voiced by Vin Diesel, and Rocket Raccoon, Bradley Cooper. Yep, so nice to see all of them in this, and, especially, by this point, they got a new bit of wardrobe, because, I like, the long jacket that Peter has. And I remember, because I'm sure some of you know this, that there were some leaked photos posted, and we can see Chris Hemsworth, Chris Pratt, Karen Gillan, Sean Gunn, and we did get our first glimpse at some of their new Guardians of the Galaxy wardrobe, and especially Chris Pratt. His last name almost slipped out of my mouth. We could see a clear glimpse of Chris Pratt's new Star-Lord wardrobe, which looked pretty cool. And it's pretty funny, because with what the Guardians and Thor are doing, and because, Thor basically, taking all the credit, basically. At one point, because they're helping out these aliens, because I think, their palace is overtaken by these bird-like owl creatures. I know they have names, but I'm just saying, it's pretty funny. And Thor saying one of his quotes, which, the Guardians, they know that this is coming, and they like what Thor says, and thus Thor taking on pretty much all of them, and because they're supposed to be a team, so all of them are supposed to do this, but Thor's pretty much doing all of it. But, of course, in the end, they succeed, so yeah. And even Thor, claiming that he owns Peter's ship, he is the leader of the Guardians of the Galaxy and such. Also, at the end of Endgame, because Thor suggesting a team name for them, combination of Asgardian and the Guardians of the Galaxy, Asgardians of the Galaxy. Oh, Thor. And also because, obviously, by this point in the movie, Thor, he's in good shape now, because, a little montage of, because, after being a part of the Guardians, he was doing some workouts, getting into shape, and eventually he did, so, yeah. Even trimming a little bit of his beard and hair. That was nice to see. Even Korg joined Thor and the Guardians of the Galaxy. But aside from what's going on with Thor and a little bit of the Guardians of the Galaxy, we once again get the returning appearance of Dr. Jane Foster, once again being played by good old Natalie Portman. Boy, because I don't think any of us really expected this to happen. What we knew what we knew at the time and before this movie came out, we knew that Jane was going to become the mighty Thor, aka Lady Thor, basically. And by the way, because Lady Thor does exist in the comics, come on, guys. Come on. Not to sound rude, but sometimes do your research, because why else would some of this stuff be in these movies? Because, clearly they exist in the comics. Like, we have a Lady Silver Surfer. Need I go on? So, anyways, so by this point, and what is happening in this movie, and with Jane Foster? Well, it turns out, sadly, she has cancer, and she's up to the 4th stage. So, yeah, I mean, it's not looking good. And, you know, she's wanting to get back to her science work, but, you know, she gets advice from her good old friend, and it's nice to see that she did make an appearance in this. I was wondering if possibly she would. Besides, both her and Dr. Jane, it's like, in a way, they're besties. So, and I'm, of course, referring to Darcy. Yeah, Darcy makes an appearance in this, once again, being played by Kate Dennings, and, well, how we would see Darcy again in WandaVision, and yeah, because we would see her in WandaVision before this, and even though, because she's in this just for a cameo, but hey, it was still nice to see her. Yeah, so, like, Darcy giving, you know, her friend Jane advice on just to take it easy and slow down, and yeah. Also, we do get an appearance of Selvig. Yep, Selvig, once again, being played by good old Stellan Skarsgård, basically sending, like, a video message or something, because, I mean, he's technically also in on this, on Jane's diagnosis, and, you know, even, you can tell, and what he's, you know, informing Jane that it's not looking good, and so on. And, well, I mean, because what is Jane gonna do? I mean, you know, she has cancer. What more can she do? And how it's severe, and how she's on the 4th stage. Well, because apparently, turns out, there's something calling to Jane. And we then see, and we come to, and how we first got to see this in Endgame. And, well, clearly, we would be seeing this in the 4th Thor film, New Asgard, yeah, because New Asgard, and how it's gotten much bigger, and how it's evolved. Like, it's like basically become like, I guess a little bit of like a tourist, like, tourist spot or something, like tourists coming in and I guess like maybe staying in a hotel or whatever, and freaking cruise ships are coming in as well. You know, it would have been funny, and if they wanted to do this, wouldn't it have been funny if they added in a Disney cruise ship? Like, well, Marvel being a part of Disney, I mean, they could have done it if they wanted to, but, well, they didn't. I mean, not that I'm complaining, but I'm just saying it would have been funny, and if they would have wanted to, if they would have considered adding the Disney cruise ship in there. I mean, I did notice, like, there were a couple of cruise ships that almost looked like Carnival cruise ships. I mean, they don't have the exact same, like, color. I mean, you know, I guess, like, because my guess is that they probably didn't want to, like, they didn't want to get sued by Carnival Cruise, and if they had gotten permission from Carnival Cruise, but yeah, they kind of look like Carnival cruise ships, and with those things up top, I know there's a specific name to them, but you know what I'm talking about, so yeah. And for any of you that have been on a Carnival cruise ship, so yeah. For me, it's just been Disney Cruise, so yeah. Anyways, so yeah, again, it's pretty funny because cruise ships coming in, and also there's like New Asgard has a couple of attractions, and also nice to see because obviously we get the returning appearance of Valkyrie once again being played by Tessa Thompson. Now she's King Valkyrie, and she's made it, you know, up top, like, I guess, like, being the CEO or president, whatever, of New Asgard, and her doing a lot of stuff, like shaking hands with other people, and, like, even at one point doing an Old Spice commercial. That was pretty funny. So good for her. And, well, because like what was in Ragnarok, we see this, and it was another one of those leaked photos that got out there, and we knew that this was coming back. A stage play where a couple of Asgardian actors are portraying Thor, Loki, Odin, and also Hela, because Yeah, it was nice to see that came back, because, yeah, actor Thor, once again being played by Chris's brother, Luke. Actor Loki, once again being played by Matt Damon. Actor Odin, once again being Sam Neill. And actress Hela. I don't know why, because it should say actress instead of actor, because, you know, looking at it on the IMDb page, it doesn't say actress. What is up with that? I have no idea. So actress Hela, well, who best for them to get to be actress Hela? I wonder. Well, and technically, because, well, in one of those leaked photos, it was already revealed and spoiled, actress Hela being good old Melissa McCarthy. And of course, she does not disappoint. She was pretty funny. And yeah, them reenacting the events of Ragnarok and, you know, as the play best describes what happened when Loki and Thor, for one last time, came face to face with their father, and when their father died, well, because this brought in their sister, who was imprisoned by their father. So yeah, so again, it was hilarious. It definitely was. And coming back to Thor and the Guardians of the Galaxy, well, because the aliens who were saved and rescued by Thor and the Guardians, you know, but unfortunately, you know, their palace got destroyed. They give them a gift, and that being two giant screaming goats, and should have seen it coming, because if they're screaming goats, well, obviously they would have the scream from that viral popular video online, you know, screaming goat, you know, that. And yeah, this, like, that sound clip of that scream, clearly because they had to use it, and it's, yeah, and clearly because that's what they're, I guess that's what they're based off of, but I'm pretty sure maybe, do they come from the comics, the giant goats? They'd have to, because why else would they be in this movie? Well, even like at one point, because Nebula was going to put them down. And also, apparently, Kraglin, he apparently got married, and Peter telling Kraglin, you know, not to quickly get into a new relationship and such, and for that matter, get frickin' married. But all of that being interrupted when they basically receive some distress calls. Gods are being killed by the God Butcher, of course, and that, of course, being Gore. And, the Guardians, Peter, he says that they should probably split up. Like, I think because by this point they want to get away from Thor, because, you know, like, Thor being so much. And, yeah, clearly, because Thor is. And, well, because, you know, they say their goodbyes, and like I said, like Thor claiming that, you know, he owns the ship, and, you know, telling Peter that, you know, you can have my ship and, you know, my team, and so on. They were never any of those. They were never yours in the first place, Thor. So yeah, and thus the Guardians, you know, ride off, and that's the last we see of the Guardians. So yeah, nice to have you. Nice to have you in this movie, and Guardians of the Galaxy. See you in your third and final installment. Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, that's it for the Guardians of the Galaxy. It's a shame, because it would have been nice if we had gotten more of them, and I don't know, because it would have been cool if they, like, interacted more with, like, say, Valkyrie and also Jane Foster, but that's okay, you know. I mean, it's just, like, say, like, best example, in Ragnarok, Doctor Strange, he was just there for the beginning of the film and for, you know, one big sequence, helping out Thor and Loki finding Odin, and that was it, and yeah. So yeah, what this movie had to offer, like having the Guardians of the Galaxy, pretty good. So yeah, again, see you in your third installment, Guardians of the Galaxy. Okay, so Thor and Korg, they head back to Asgard, along with the gift that they were given, those two giant screaming goats. Back at New Asgard, because, well, obviously, because there are tour guides, and, well, there's one spot where Thor's original hammer is in a glass tube and such, you know, glass dome, not tube, dome. And, you know, I'm not even going to bother trying to say the name of Thor's original hammer. We know what it is, okay? So, yeah. His new hammer, well, technically it's an axe, you know. I know the name of it, and that being Stormbreaker. That's not a difficult word to say, but Thor's original hammer, the name it has, for me, yeah, it's a bit difficult, so... But again, I'm not going to bother saying it. Like I said, we know what his original hammer is. So it's in a glass dome, and, you know, the guests, you know, being guided, you know, in this tour guide, they proceed off. But however, one person remains and staring at Thor's original hammer, and it's Jane. And apparently, because, yeah, Thor's hammer had called to Jane, and something starts to happen. Thunderstorms approach, and yeah, well, clearly, because I think we all know what is to happen and what is to come. And so to speed things up, because, well, later that evening, because, you know, disaster is about to approach to, you know, the citizens of New Asgard. Which, oh, by the way, because Thor and Korg, at one point, before going back to New Asgard, I almost forgot to mention this, one of the distress calls that him and the Guardians received, one of them being Lady Sif. And, yeah, it was nice to see that Lady Sif came back for this, and how, you know, thankfully she did survive. And, well, because how she was not present during the events of Ragnarok, because... what's-her-face, who plays Lady Sif, well, where is she? Oh, here she is, yeah. Lady Sif, once again, being played by Jamie Alexander. I think she was unavailable for, you know, unavailable and for returning to Ragnarok. So her character being written out, and, you know, basically Lady Sif was you know, absent from Asgard because she was on you know, a going away mission or something. But yeah, nice to see that she did survive, and well, because she was attacked by Gore. She even lost an arm, and well, because they bring her back to Asgard, and she was thinking that at one point she was gonna die, but no, because she was not. And how, and for her to get to this specific heaven, well, she'd have to die in battle. So yeah, but nice to see that she did thankfully survive. Like, you know, it would be a shame if they had killed her off. Like, geez, you know, we can have more of her, and technically we've had, like, you know, best example, a couple of times where she appeared in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Yeah, it was nice to see her appear. Well, and seeing as how Jamie Alexander is no stranger to TV, like, her best-known TV work is Blind Spot? I think, yeah, I got the title right, yeah. So, yeah. So she survives and brought to the New Asgard. I mean, was she even aware of New Asgard? And if she were ever to, you know, come to New Asgard, I guess, but yeah. Well, you know, she is going to be treated and such, and so back to where I was later that evening, because, well, Gore shows up and basically unleashes these scary-looking creatures. I think they're referred to as, like, shadow creatures or something, and, well, because by the time Thor came back, well, because, you know, they came back right as that was happening, like, disaster striking, these shadow creatures attacking, and Valkyrie, of course, fighting them, and, well, thankfully, because Thor showed up, and him taking on the shadow creatures as well. And then at one point, someone else has stepped in, and is, you know, taking on these shadow creatures. And, well, who could it be then? Jane Foster, now having possession of Thor's original hammer, now being referred to as Lady Thor / the Mighty Thor. And once again, we hear Korg's voice, and we get another, like, backstory and such, and we get a montage of what it was like with Thor and Jane being together, their love life, and how it was going pretty well, because Thor was showing Jane the ways of, like, say, a god, and Jane was showing him the ways of human and so on, and, human society and etc. And then at one point, sadly, because things weren't looking too good for them, because, how busy they got. Thor getting brought in by Nick Fury, being summoned, because when the Avengers are being called upon, and, Dr. Jane, her business as a doctor and, like, a book that she published and so on, and how they started to argue and just, sad. It's a shame, And now we know, because why they broke up. It's nice to see that, because by this movie, they did show that. Because I'm pretty sure a lot of us were really wondering, how did this happen? How did this happen when it was mentioned in Ragnarok? Yeah, and we finally see why. Alright, but anyways, so Jane and Thor, they're reunited, and he is surprised to see that his original hammer is now, a part of Jane and such, and has turned to her. And by the way, I cannot forget to mention this. The whole thing in Love and Thunder, with Thor interacting and talking to the two hammers. Well, again, one of them technically not a hammer, it's an axe. The Stormbreaker, of course. So, that whole thing where he's talking to them and such, I don't know. I mean, honestly, and because now that I've rewatched it doesn't bother me, actually. I mean, think of this. Technically, his original hammer and the Stormbreaker, I think pretty much they are characters. I mean, it's like, take for example Star Wars. The Millennium Falcon is technically a character, but of course it's not alive. But you should get my point, okay? So think of that. And besides, I think it's obvious that his original hammer and the Stormbreaker, they're almost alive, because, they're powerful, and when they respond, think of that, like, just, I'm just, bear with me and just try to understand what I'm saying, okay? So again, I had no problem with that. I do recall, because my mom, and shout out to my mom, she found it weird, but that's her opinion, and with what I've just explained the best I could in my review, So, with that out of the way, because, and again, just the many times that he speaks with them, and how he's saddened to see that, because his original hammer is now apart and really attached to Jane. But little does Thor know, and the others, on what's actually happening with Jane, and with her becoming the mighty Thor, and her wielding his original hammer. Little do they know at first. I mean, she's been keeping it from a lot of people, except for a few, like, say Darcy and Selvig, and Selvig, he is a doctor, so of course he would have to know and help Jane, so So after, like, these shadow creatures are defeated, Gore, at one point, he basically steals the Asgardian children, and some of them not being Asgardian. They're different species of aliens and so on. They're not all Asgardians. So a good chunk of them are captured, and there's like a meeting and such, and all of the Asgardian citizens are just complaining, and even at one point some of them get into like a little brawl and such, but Thor's stepping in and, telling them what's going to happen, and obviously they're going to get the children back. Even like at one point, because like a few times Thor struggles with the Stormbreakers. That was pretty funny. And he can't do this alone, because obviously he's gonna have to have help, and obviously those being the mighty Thor, Valkyrie, and Korg. Yep, so, them accompanying Thor on this journey and this mission to confront and stop Gore and to save the children of New Asgard. And, also because, with Jane, because there's one moment, like, her in the bathroom and, like, letting go of Thor's original hammer, and she's back to her old Jane self, like, not feeling good and because of cancer and such, but by wielding it, she's all right. And she thinks at first that maybe possibly because the original hammer called to her, maybe this could help her be cured and, no longer feel sick and have cancer. That's what she thinks at first. But little does she know later on, sadly, yeah. Because in order for them to, proceed on to their destination and go to one specific place to get a team, it can't just be, the four of them. They got to get more. Because they need a ship or something, and, they do. Valkyrie's, boat, but, in order for it to fly in space and such, it requires those two giant screaming goats, and, because a rainbow happening, a rainbow bridge, and so on, wherever the two giant screaming goats, where they ride, because, we see the Rainbow Bridge. So they proceed on, and, because, where they're supposed to go to, and to speed things up, because, they are to, get to this one place where pretty much all the gods, hang out. I guess that's the best way to put it. The city of omnipotence, I think I kind of have to, I need to slow down saying that word. I can't. I would have trouble saying it fast. Like, say that kind of word 10 times fast, will ya? So, omnipotence and omnipotent city. So that's where they're supposed to go. And I remember hearing about this, that Russell Crowe being in this movie, and because, whom Russell Crowe plays in this film? Zeus, and the Zeus. And you think at first, and what they think, and because Thor, he looks up to Zeus, and, he idolizes Zeus. You think Zeus will be easy to interact with, and, seeking help, getting a team and such. But when they do get there, because at one point, they have to blend in and put on disguises, and that's thanks to Valkyrie, because she finds some disguised clothes that they can use to disguise themselves. And entering in because, a bunch of different gods are there, and, enter Zeus, again, being played by good old Russell Crowe. And it turns out that Zeus is not the Zeus and how he's portrayed in Love and Thunder, not the Zeus that we would think of, and especially what Thor was expecting of Zeus. Even when they were whispering on what they were going to do and how to negotiate and talk with Zeus, Zeus was hearing, who's whispering, who's talking, and, because, he could see that, it's Thor and the others, and he doesn't know at first because they're in disguise. Thor's approaching, front and center, face to face with Zeus, and, Thor asking for help and mentioning the God Butcher, but apparently because Zeus, out of nowhere, because he laughs about it and all the others do, but he does mention to Thor that, he is afraid and he is aware of the God Butcher, and by telling Thor that all of them in this city, they're safe and sound from the God Butcher, and, because if the God Butcher were to know that the presence of and the location of the city, and, he's, pointing at Thor, that, because they would, Gore would know from Thor and the others, well, they'd be in trouble and such. And Zeus telling Thor that he and the others will be staying here, and Thor can see now that he's not the Zeus that he thought he would be, and never meet your heroes sometimes. And well, Zeus figuring out that, he is Odin's son, well, he's Asgardian. And things do get out of hand, and well, because when Thor was, roped down, by lightning bolts, even Zeus removing his clothing, butt naked. He's completely butt naked, and a couple of those ladies in the city, and, they were all with Zeus, they fainted. Because Zeus did put a bit of wardrobe on him, a cloth and such, around him, and at least, it's covering his crotch, his junk, I should say. Because Valkyrie and Jane and Korg, they step in and they fight off against Zeus's guards, and also they try to get their hands on Zeus's thunderbolt. I'm pretty sure that's the specific name of that. Yeah, Zeus's Thunderbolt. If he won't help, then well, because now they're gonna get their hands on his Thunderbolt. That is the key, and will help them to defeat and stop Gore. Them again, a little fight between Zeus's guards. Even at one point, I guess maybe not all of us saw this coming, Zeus threw and aimed his thunderbolt at Korg, and he breaks and destroys Korg. I mean, he's a rock, so he crumbles. And we think at first, even Thor thinks that, well, Korg dies, and, well, this did piss off Thor, and, well, what he did next is, I think, he did get his hands on the thunderbolt, and firing straight at Zeus through the chest, and, well, because it seems as though that possibly, we think at first, Thor has defeated and killed Zeus. But spoilers, at the very end of the film, he did survive. So yeah, but until I get to that. Thankfully, they escape. They got their hands on Zeus's main weapon. And even at one point, and if you guys know this, because Love and Thunder being banned in some countries and such, because, at one point, right as they are about to leave, and well, because the boat came in with the two screaming goats, Valkyrie kissed one of the ladies' hands, Seriously, just for that? I mean, and besides, we know that Valkyrie is, I think, bi, I want to say. And besides, it's mentioned that she lost her girlfriend in battle. So, yeah. But anyways, I don't want to dwell on it, again, they thankfully escape. And, well, they do get some information, I think, from Zeus, and also what they hear from Gore. And also, a couple of times where, we see the children in a cage, Gore, basically terrifying them, even like a creepy creature like snake popping up, and Gore at one point decapitates the snake, and this terrifies them. Thor is able to communicate with the kids thanks to Axel. That's what he prefers to be named, because he prefers to be named Axel and be named after Axl Rose. And yeah, a couple of Axl Rose songs are played in this film, and pretty good ones, yeah. So Axel being played by Kieran L. Dyer. I mean, again, because that's the name he refers to be called, but his actual name, and if I remember to do so, and why not? I'll put his actual name in a text, in the text, yeah, as I sometimes do. And by the way, because Axel, he is the son of the late Heimdall, yeah. So the son of Heimdall, and having the same powers as his father, where he can reach out to, say, Thor, like what he did in Ragnarok, and just a holographic image of Thor. He's there and interacting, and informing the kids on what he's gonna do, and to rescue them and such. And also because, like, Axel just kind of being a handful, because, disrespecting, like, not being called by his original name, and even Thor, telling him that he promised his late father, and, honoring his, the late Heimdall. So, yeah. A couple of times where we see the kids in a cage, and where Thor, Valkyrie, Korg, what's left of Korg, and of course Jane, where they're supposed to go, is the Shadow Realm. And because I mentioned, like, shadow creatures, and where Gorg is, Gore, not Gorg, is the Shadow Realm. And the Shadow Realm, let me see, because of course I have it up. The Shadow Realm, the atmosphere, there has a darkness like no other, and, there's no color. So, as they are proceeding on to the Shadow Realm, and also they learn about something else and what Gore is going to do, and especially with having the sword, and also because Gore needs the Stormbreaker for this, and also Bifrost to be mentioned. Well, because Gore is basically wanting to open the Eternity, and the Eternity, because Eternity then restored. Let me see, because basically, I think, he wants to get to Eternity to restore and to bring back, bestowing his Gore's daughter. Yeah, that's what Gore's wanting to do. And, thinking that, like, it's mentioned that, he's doing this probably for a vengeance or something like that. But Thor realizes later on, and, what Gore is really looking for. So yeah. So on the boat, and then proceeding on into the Shadow Realm, because, there's a bit of a conversation between Jane and Thor, and because Thor, trying to say something good, like that didn't turn out the right way of how I wanted to say it, by one word, shitty, just, is pretty funny. And, because at one point, and knew it was going to happen, Jane reveals to Thor that she has cancer. And, of course, he knows what cancer is, and, of course, he's worried about this. And, she tells him that, she's up on the 4th stage, and, she felt as though that because his original hammer called out to her that possibly this could heal her, and so on. But she finds out later on that, but until I mention it. Because, Gore mentions it to her. And Thor, because, it's also discovered that, even Thor realizes this, by her wielding his original hammer, it's draining out what's left of her, and, with her trying to feel better and to, try to survive through her having cancer. But something about the original hammer that's not helping her, and, it's pretty sad. And Thor, even telling her and giving her advice that, you don't know what's gonna happen, and, and mentioning tomorrow, an important thing about tomorrow. And it was getting there. It was getting there at one point, and sure enough, they do finally kiss. And and even, like, Korg and Valkyrie inside of the ship, and they're wondering what's going on between the two of them. It's pretty funny. And eventually, they do get there. They finally arrive at the Shadow Realm, and when they get to the Shadow Realm, that's where finally we see, and as I mentioned, the color disappears, because, creepy black and white stuff going on, for sure. Okay, so when they arrive and land on this small moon rock planet where the Shadow Realm resides, and where they're supposed to go, because at one point, like, they go in this, like tent or whatever it is, and they, like, search around, and even at one point Jane discovers something and what Gore is going to do, and as I mentioned, Bifrost and so on, and she quickly but surely realizes that, well, where they're at is a trap. And it doesn't take too long for Gore to pop up, and with the shadow creatures that he, they're under his command and such, and like these tentacles and such, like, vines basically, the wrapping around and, strangling, like restraining Thor, Jane, and Valkyrie, and just Gore taunting them, and even like say when like he mentions to Valkyrie about the loss of his of her girlfriend, and even pointing out to Jane that, well, he can sense and know that she's sick, and that's when he tells Jane that, because she thought that Thor's original hammer and her being the mighty Thor would help her feel better and to heal and such. No, because that's not how it works. It's working for her. Like, yeah, she thought it would work, but no, not really. And well, and as it was revealed, and well, Thor realizing it too, that it's just draining her more. And yeah, by wielding his original hammer and being the mighty Thor, just yeah. Well, of course, and by the way, because Gore, he is basically threatening Thor, bring the axe, summon the axe, because Jane at one point threw the Stormbreaker out of sight because, well, that's what Gore needs to use in order to get and summon eternity. But of course, Thor, thankfully, because because he's the god of thunder and he can use it with his hands, basically, yeah, summoning the Stormbreaker, and well, all three of them are freed, and thus, they take on Gore and the shadow creatures, and to speed things up, yeah, because like at one point the ship got destroyed, but thankfully Korg, he's okay. One of the giant screaming goats got a hold of his head, and nice to see that one of the other two giant screaming goats actually, head-butted and rammed into one of the shadow creatures. That's nice to see. Yeah, like Thor fighting against Gore, and, well, because Jane and Valkyrie taking on the shadow creatures. And at one point, Gore badly wounded Valkyrie. But thankfully, Valkyrie, of course, she was all right later on. It wasn't that severe with the wound that she had. Well, because they do get out of there. They escape from Gore, but because of using the Stormbreaker and being taken back to New Asgard, Gore, holding on to the Stormbreaker, and when they did leave and such, they went back to New Asgard. Well, what was left behind was, of course, the Stormbreaker. Gore finally got his hands on the Stormbreaker, and what would happen next? And unfortunately, at first, they weren't able to save the children because they were nowhere to be seen, not in plain sight. Well, and again, because, this being a trap and so on, and when they make it back, well, because Jane doesn't have the original hammer in her hand, and, well, because she's back to her old Jane self, being sick and such, and we then see that, well, she's in a hospital room, and Thor just, very upset on what's happening with Jane and how severe it's gotten for her, and he's refusing for her to, tag along with him to, confront Gore once again and to save the Asgard children. Well, because, as much as she wants to join, Thor, he's not having it because he loves her. He had always loved her even when, sadly, they broke up. And that's nice to see. That's nice to see from Thor. And besides, also, because, almost forgot to mention this, because at the start of the film and, the backstory that Korg gives on Thor, and how, before Jane, he was in love with others, like, one Viking girl, I want to say, and a wolf woman, and eventually, when he found his true love, which being Jane. So, yeah, Jane being his true love, and how, even like after they broke up, how loyal and how, he never, had been with someone else. Yeah, so... Thor, he thinks that he can handle this, and even Valkyrie, she's unable to join, so it's up to Thor, at first, it's up to him doing this alone, and by rescuing the children. And when we come back to Gorr, well, because since now he's got his hands on both the sword and the Stormbreaker, now he can summon and open eternity. Even at one point, because the kids, they were almost crushed, because a part of, where they were inside was crumbling and, breaking off. Like, one piece was almost about to hit them, but thankfully, Thor stepped in, and now, because, he's rescued the kids, and now... what happens next is, he encourages them that they can fight. That, okay, not all of them are Asgardian children, and as I mentioned, but, today they are all Asgardians, and, well, Thor giving them the power of, being strong and able to fight against the shadow creatures, and by using Zeus's thunderbolt. Yeah, it's really awesome, and nice to see, because all of them being powerful and strong, and, and how they fight, because there's one little girl in a fairy costume with a tutu and wings and a magic wand, and her taking on the shadow creatures is pretty funny, and another little girl with a stuffed bunny, and how she uses the stuffed bunny, shooting, blaster bolts through the stuffed bunny's eyes. That's pretty funny, but cool at the same time. Well, and of course, Heimdall's son, Axel, obviously joining in the fight. So yeah, them taking on the shadow creatures, and, well, Thor approaching and, fighting off against Gorr, and to stop from eternity being opened and summoned. And, well, at one point, Thor is losing to Gorr, being beaten, and apparently we see that Jane can feel and sense what's happening to Thor, and, well, she knows what to do. She knows the right thing to do by, well, becoming the mighty Thor once again, and even if it really drains her out and she will very surely die, well, she does this, of course, to stop Gorr and to defeat him, but also to help out whom she loves, and also the Asgardian kids, because they were, of course, determined to bring them back to New Asgard. So again, her stepping in and, her helping out Thor, taking on Gorr. And also, there were a lot of times in this movie where she was trying to come up with a catchphrase. And, eat my hammer, and so on. And when she's confronting Gorr, you will refer to me as the mighty Thor, or third option, you will refer to me as Dr. Jane Foster. And her, trying to do a catchphrase and saying it directly towards Gorr, and as I just said, eat my hammer! And Gorr, he is getting defeated, and thankfully, because Thor, throwing the Stormbreaker to Axel, and by, him and the rest of the kids getting back to New Asgard, while Thor and Jane still taking on Gorr, and by this point, Gorr is losing, and for Jane, because, she's starting to, collapse and such, with all that she has left. And by the way, Thor's original hammer, a really cool thing about it, because, how it broke into pieces, but it was put back together, and all those cracks. With Jane wielding the original hammer, it's really cool what it can do, because it can come off piece by piece. It can break off into tiny pieces and, fly and basically, wound and kill any enemy and such. You've seen it, and it's really cool. I think that's really cool. And then what happens next is, well, because Thor because he was trying to get the Stormbreaker out from, unleashing eternity. He successfully did, and as I mentioned, throwing it to Axel. But, by that point, the eternity has already been summoned. And what happens next is Gorr and Thor and Jane, they find themselves in this lake or something, and eternity is right there. Gorr is face to face with eternity, and, well, because Thor, he tells Gorr that he doesn't have to do this, and he knows what Gorr is seeking: not death, not revenge, etc. Love. he is looking and searching for love. And the word love happens to be also like that. Love happens to be the name of Gorr's daughter. Yeah, so that's whom she's referred to, Love. And you know what? Hence the title, Love. Yeah. Yeah, so, you know, we see Gorr's daughter once again, and Gorr realizes that, well, he's dying, and he feels that, well, his daughter's going to be alone, but Jane, she assures Gorr that she won't be alone. Well, and it's obvious, and it's Thor. Thor will be the one to look after and to take care of his daughter. And by that point, Gorr, technically, you know, he's been redeemed, and he feels so sorry towards his daughter. And yeah, and also Jane, by this point, she's about to die. And, you know, and by that point, she finally came up with a catchphrase of her own. And even she whispers it to Thor, and he thinks it's pretty good. They do chuckle over it. And, you know, sadly, them saying their goodbyes, and it is very moving. I think it's very moving. And, you know, because knowing the love and the relationship between Thor and Jane, and ever since the first Thor movie and up to this, wow, that's amazing. And it's really good and emotional, very moving. And well, because both of them saying to each other that they love each other, and one last kiss, and thus Jane, she descends, like, turns to glowing magical dust and such. Yeah. And yep, that's it for Jane. And also Gorr, he does die, of course. And well, what happens next is, well, the ending of the film, the epilogue. Everything's going great now in New Asgard. There's been a statue built and placed, you know, a statue of Dr. Jane Foster / the mighty Thor, and her, you know, what she did saving the universe and being a hero. And of course, you know, the children of New Asgard, they've finally returned and are reunited with their family. And also nice to see that, you know, Korg, he of course, you know, he did survive, and it's nice to see that, you know, he grew a new body, yeah, because his body rehealed and such, and apparently because, well, he found a partner, and apparently, I guess, like, I think it's confirmed that Korg is gay. Not that I'm complaining, but okay. Well, also because what the kidnapped children did helping out Thor, well, now they're being trained under Valkyrie, and also we once again see Lady Sif helping and training Heimdall's son. Yeah, good to see. And well, you know, we even see because that, well, Lady Sif, that she is all right, and with her, you know, her arm being treated, you know, the one arm that she lost. Yeah, nice to see that, you know, she's still up and, you know, fighting and, you know, being an Asgardian warrior, and well, her, as I just said, helping and training Heimdall's son Axel. And also for Thor and Gorr's daughter being named Love, well, everything's going well between them. But of course, you know, with Love being a little girl, and because she refuses to put on boots and she refers to to wear slippers and so on, it is pretty funny. But of course, she goes along and with this and puts on the boots. Yeah, that's pretty funny. One of those things when it comes to little kids and parents, yeah. Yeah, so all ends well for Thor, and now that he's looking after Gorr's daughter being named Love. And well, because getting one last bit of narration from Korg, you know, by referring to Thor and Love and Thunder, and well, hence the title. And well, because both of them going out and, you know, fighting more bad guys and such, and Thor's original hammer, because he gets to finally wield his original hammer, and apparently Love basically put glitter and put lipstick and eyelashes on it. And he can tell, and like he even says, "Oh, that's not coming off." And nice to see that Love, she's wielding the Stormbreaker. Yeah, good for her. Yeah, so, and, well, probably because knowing her, like, her wielding the Stormbreaker, she's obviously very strong and powerful. Good to see. Yep, and that was a cool and nice way to end off the movie. And of course, it wouldn't be an MCU Marvel film without having end credit scenes, because the two end credit scenes that we get, aside from the credits, which are pretty cool, well, because the first end credit scene, mid-credit scene, I should say, we once again see Zeus. He has survived, and he goes on about, how it's like, he feels that people have forgotten, their gods and stuff like that, and them looking up and preferring like the superheroes, yeah, and and him like putting the blame on Thor, and because. What Zeus is up to, well, basically, he is about to send out his son to take on and come face to face, with Thor, and of course, Zeus's son being Hercules. We see Hercules make a quick appearance in this, and Hercules being played by Brett Goldstein. I think I did get the last name right. I know I've seen Brett Goldstein from a couple of other films. I'll have to check again. But yeah, so it's cool to see that, yeah, we for the first time get to see Hercules on screen in something Marvel. Yeah. And the final end credit scene at, when the credits finish, well, we once again see Jane, because after she died, well, her making her way to the land of the gods, which, this being heaven, and this heaven being referred to as Valhalla. I don't even know if I'm even saying it right. Again, you know me sometimes. But yeah, I mean, if you know the name, then you know. So, and she's greeted by, and it was nice to see that he did make an appearance in this. Heimdall, once again, being played by Idris Elba. Yeah, because he's there greeting and welcoming Jane to the land of the gods. Yeah, because that's what that's what it's referred to, the land of the gods. Yeah. And that was a nice way to end it off there. And Jane is all right, and now that she's made it to the land of the gods, and how, it was nice to see that Idris Elba made an appearance as good old Heimdall. Yeah, a nice and good way to end off the movie right there. Thor, Love, and Thunder. Again, as I said, I don't think it's that bad. I'm one of those that actually likes and enjoys the fourth Thor film. Yeah, again, as I said, it's a mixed bag, and there are those that, think, just how they feel on it. But again, there are those like myself that come to like and enjoy what the fourth Thor film is like. The story, I think, was pretty good. The characters, and, seeing Jane Foster once again, and her becoming the mighty Thor, the main antagonist of this movie, Gore, Christian Bale, and yeah, the funny moments, the emotional moments, just everything about Thor, Love, and Thunder, I think, was pretty good. Not that bad. And, it may not be the best, and, could not top off, Ragnarok, but still, I don't think it's that bad. And I'm giving Thor, Love, and Thunder, yeah, this sounds about right, 7 out of 10 stars. Yes, 7 out of 10 stars for Thor, Love, and Thunder. Again, I think it's pretty good. Not the best, right next to Ragnarok, but it's not all that bad. And again, like I said, the funny and especially the emotional moments, the MCU never disappoints at that stuff, and with great characters and so on. Yeah. And what about you guys? What did you think of Thor, Love, and Thunder itself? Is there any of you that, like me, do like and enjoy Love and Thunder. Is it one of your favorite Thor films? I'm sure most of you would prefer Ragnarok, but I'm sure, though, yeah, some of you probably do like Love and Thunder, as I do. Any funny and emotional moments that you liked in this? Anything that, you thought was... Because, again, the whole thing of Thor talking to his original hammer and Stormbreaker, everything else in the film, and, with the appearance of the Guardians of the Galaxy, Gore, the Butcher God, the main antagonist of this film, Christian Bale as that villain, the return of Natalie Portman as Jane Foster / the mighty Thor, and the fact that we got to see Lady Thor in this, and which being Jane Foster. Yeah, just overall, what did you think of Love and Thunder itself, and with what I've had to say, my review, and yeah, what did you think of my review? Leave comments and give this review video a like, as always. And so, with all that being said, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed my review of Thor, Love and Thunder. More review videos are on the way. They're going to be awesome. Keep looking forward, and I'll see you guys in the next video / review. Take care, and until the final installment of Phase 4 in the MCU, I think we all know what that is. Wakanda forever! And until the return of Thor, as it said at the end of Love and Thunder, peace out, and Avengers, assemble.